Thanks for your video, John. I think definitely had a glass or two or so of wine that evening, and I watched the video again. And I don't often watch my videos, but I was kind of laughing at my own. It seemed rather self-indulgent, but I guess every video made by anyone is somewhat self-indulgent. I mean, here we are talking to ourselves under the supposition that other people actually want to listen, but I guess they do. So, to get to the actual content of the videos here, enlightenment. Well, I guess it's not an unimportant discussion. I mean, there are many ways which we can interpret this term. In a Western uh, historical context, it seems to represent that event which occurred in the in light of the Reformation and scientific revolutions, the Enlightenment in uh, the sense of free thought and political revolution in support of individual rights and uh, rational public discourse about uh, how human beings ought best to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. Uh, that enlightenment is not the one I was talking about in my video, nor one you were talking about in your video, but I think it's still quite relevant because, well, that's, at least for you and I, John, it's our own cultural tradition. We're immersed in that milieu, and we have undoubtedly been influenced by it. Another sense of enlightenment, uh, you could think of it literally as a coming to awareness of the mechanics of light, as you put it, John. Or, I mean, for me, the word mechanics I think is inappropriate just because it implies that only efficient causes, mechanical causes, are required in order to explain how light behaves, and obviously it's complicated, and I don't uh, have an expertise in the mathematics of um, photon behavior, but it would seem to me that to understand the way light behaves, and to give an example of one instance of the behavior of light, when plants photosynthesize, photons travel down every molecular pathway at once within the cells, the chloroplasts of these plants, in order to discover the most efficient route to take. And when the photon that finds the most efficient path confirms that path, then uh, the wave function collapses, and that's the path the photon takes. And granted, this isn't just the intelligence of the light, but the intelligence of the organic form which has uh, conspired with the light to release energy. And we could say that the plant photosynthesizing is the most fundamental form of enlightenment. It's eating the sun to produce energy seemingly from nowhere. And that's fundamentally it's the fundamental food source that all of us, all animal life, survives upon. But then there's an even more uh, significant form of enlightenment, which would be, originally you could say in the Eastern sense, Buddha became enlightened or awakened when he came to terms with, a number of things, the essence of which you could say boils down to two basic principles: that all things are impermanent, and everything that appears to be permanent is connected to everything else. And it follows from these two principles that not even the self exists. So whatever enlightenment is, it's not a state that some individual self reaches, because there never was a self to begin with. All things are impermanent. And even if an apparent self appears to arise, it's inseparable from all the others that appear to arise. So I think my dilemma in my video was, in light of enlightenment, the awakening to these two fundamental principles, that all things are in flux, and that whatever the other one was, all things are in flux. Even memory ultimately fails. In light of these truths, how are we to understand compassion? And I think I settled on tentatively. I settled on this idea that because there is really only one consciousness underlying all manifest forms. In other words, because there's only one sentience, one being who suffers underlying all the apparently separate beings, then compassion is really only a love for self. But see, I don't know that I'm satisfied with that, because somehow I want to value the particularity of our desires and relations, because it somehow seems that the universal can manifest in the particular, and that perhaps part of our divine mission on earth is not to transcend our person or our bodies, but to fully integrate into them, incarnate into them. Maybe the true challenge of our times is not so much ascension, but incarnation. And maybe incarnation is a form of ascension. That light is trying to rise itself to a higher harmonic level within our own human selves. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you have a better idea. But thanks for your video, and I hope we can continue this dialogue, especially considering that I'm going to be sitting in on a course on Sri Aurobindo this coming semester, and I'm sure I'm going to want to share some of my reflections on the readings and discussions in class. So perhaps we can spark up, kindle a fire around the ideas of that master in the coming months. I look forward to it. Take it easy.